Hi everybody, welcome to the Rambling Toffee podcast. I'm Mark. I hope everybody's doing okay today. How can I start this podcast today? Well, on Friday or before Friday, my idea or my plan for the podcast today was to talk about Kevin Felwell, to continue to talk about the Palace result, about getting ready for the big game against United on Sunday, and everything that was my usual plan for the podcast. Also to talk about the stadium in a way it's just flying up, and it continues to do so. I'll just say on that front, please, go on YouTube, go and see the guys with their drones, and go and see how that stadium just keeps on flying up. And hope long may it continue, and long may it get to the stage of being completed. Something positive and something optimistic out there. But on Friday, um, I'm not feeling very well at the moment. I'm battling with a chest infection, and I've just not been feeling great. And I was just, minding my own business, just lying in bed, just relaxing, trying to recover, trying to get better. And I just look on my phone, and you know, breaking news. Everton Football Club get a points deduction of 10 points, and I was absolutely first. I was shocked by that. I thought that can't be right. And I was baffled by it, and I was thinking, what have we done? What has the club done? What has got to this independent commission to give us a punishment of 10 points? What what has happened? So obviously the report was out there, and I didn't have the energy to read through it because there's so much of it. So I waited for the local journalists, the guys and girls who are reporting on it, and what was actually bits taken out there from everybody out there who were taking bits from it and giving their view on of what this breach was and what it was about, and I was absolutely perplexed as to and then as to the breach itself. And as much I'm an Everton fan, every Evertonian out there, we can all accept that yes, it's a breach, it's happened, it's there. Yes, we deserve a fight, we deserve a punishment of some sort because of what happened, but not a 10 point deduction. That was way very extreme. And it just then told the story itself. And forget about what that breach was. I mean, I'll just briefly say that, there was mitigating circumstances, and it was linked to the stadium, and, and nothing to do with on-field activities. It wasn't, we weren't, the club, I believe, the club have followed the Premier League for the last 2, 3 seasons, if you believe what we've heard, and and have done everything to the book to the best of their ability, I think. But that's another story I'll mention in a minute. But and they followed whatever the Premier League would ask them to do. We sold our best players. We've done everything they possibly can and followed the rule that was put to them to keep the club from getting any kind of deduction, any kind of breach, or anything like that. That is, but there was no, and he actually said in the report, I think everybody said there is no kind of sporting advantage been made from the club. Well, you can actually see over the last 2, 3 seasons we've been struggling and trying to stay stay out of relegation trouble, and we've done it on the occasions that we've had. But we sold the likes of Richarlison, Anthony Gordon, we sold players that, and we've tried to reduce obviously the wage bill, and we've tried to make sure that we weren't in that position. And then they found a technicality um, within the reporting on one of the accounts for one of the years, and it's unbelievable, and it doesn't the punishment doesn't fit the crime. And when I saw all the reports out there, and I saw everything that was put out, went from shock. I went from being confused to a point of anger. And I'm still seething today, and I'm still very angry now. And we've had the whole weekend, we've got the whole week to build up to the United game. But it just absolutely baffled me. But the big thing is, I can accept the breach, and in all honesty, it's there, done and that. But I think the punishment doesn't fit the crime, and something it should have been something different than that. I know we've appealed it, and now we're just going to wait and see what happens with that appeal. Hopefully, it'll get reduced on that appeal. We'll see. Um, because there was mitigating circumstances with certain things that happened in the period of time. The biggest thing was the Russia attacking Ukraine and the war that now is going on there. And we had sponsorship a deal in place for naming rights for the stadium through USM, through Usmanov, through the training ground being sponsored. We had sponsorship with the current at Goodison Park with Megaphone. There was a lot of money that was there, and that money gone within a few days. As soon as that war happened, that was it. Mitigating circumstances came into being. We lost roughly around 200 million if you read the report, and read not the report, but read into what happened actually um, after that happened. So we lost money, but we still had we should have sold Richarlison for 80 million, but we took 60 million. There's that 19.5 million if you want to add that into that. I need, it's just as a fan, you know, we're being punished for failings that took place through the owner and through the previous board, and the failings that they have done has got us into this position and has got us into this scenario. They're to blame for the way that they dealt with the finances of the football club, the owner for just keep on spending money in the early days and getting us in a position like that. But the fact is, the board should have been controlling what was being spent and the way it was being spent and the way that we were bringing money in and out, and to utilize it in the right ways and to do the right things. They're the problem. They're no longer there. But who are still here? The fans. We're still here. We're still fighting. You know, with the club currently, we're still trying to with the takeover, with everything that's going on at the moment, because financially we're still struggling. We're still trying to find that money to keep the club running. 777 partners are putting money in. What happens if that falls flat? And my opinion of that's just going off this subject at the moment. That is ongoing. We could be in administration next, and that's the threat that we have. We have a stadium that's being built, and as I mentioned, it's fantastic and it's going in the direction we want it to go. But we've got a deduction now. We'll be fine. We'll probably stay in the Premier League anyway. I think we'll get ourselves through it on that front. But it's just like that, we're easy targets. We're, public, we've got all the struggles. We've been, with money and everything else over the last few years. And the Premier League have thought, oh yes, we found something that we can go against you. And it's just one breach. And this is where, for me, where the Premier League, in my mind, are corrupt. And I don't mind saying it, and I'll say it out loud. You can do whatever you like. They are a corrupt organisation. The decision that was made on Friday was all done to prove a point to the government, to the independent regulator, which is going to be created, to say that, oh, we don't need you, we can regulate ourselves, we have this in place, and this is what we're doing. And the easy target is a club that is struggling off the field, going through a takeover with and keep going week to week with money being put in so we can just keep going, just keep the club running. And the Premier League, instead of trying to help, and yes, we can talk about them helping Everton through a period of time to make sure that they can keep their finances in check. Obviously, that did for a time being, but obviously they've decided that they've found a breach which is linked to the stadium, nothing to do with players, nothing to do with any kind of advantage or sporting advantage that we were going to take, because you can see that that was not the case, and they've actually said that in the report. And we are not, we don't, but we get a sporting sanction for it, for something that is nothing to do with the sporting side of it, the sporting side of the club. It's it just baffles me. I'm still in shock, and I'm still angry about it. So my next point of view is this: the Premier League 2 years ago, and I've said this on a video that I did on Friday, a short video. The Premier League 2 years ago were a threat from the Sly Six, the six clubs that wanted to break away and form a European Super League with other clubs in Europe. They decided they did it in quiet, they did it privately, they didn't let anybody know, let the 14 other Premier League clubs that this is going to happen. They didn't let the Premier League know, they let anybody know, they kept it quiet, and then it all came out. And then the massive uproar that took place from that was that, the media, newspapers, social media, everybody, the whole of British football, British football, well, English football in general, everybody said this can't be done. It's going to break up the pyramid, of the footballing pyramid in England, and they were going to destroy the fabric of the game in this country. And what happened next? Because there was massive uproar, we got certain journalist who writes for the Times who comes out and goes, "We can't punish the fans. We can't punish the fans. We can't punish the players. We can't punish the manager. We can't punish the staff who work at the clubs. It's the owners that should be punished for it." Sounds familiar? So that's the story. It went out there. Everybody, every former football player, every current player, all came out, said, "We can't do this. You can't do this. Something should be done about this. If you're going to go, then this is going to happen." What happened next, we all know. And I'm sorry I'm going to go over ground, but this is what happened next. We all know. They get a measly fine. They actually negotiated. I couldn't believe when that came out that the six clubs negotiated with the Premier League, or is it the FA, to what fine that they should have. What should have happened is, instead of them saying, "Oh yeah, here's the fine, but also we're going to deduct this amount of points for every one of you, or we're going to relegate you for what you did," that will teach you and that will learn you. But no, can't do that. Why? We can't do that because what about the fans? They've done nothing wrong. What about the players, the staff? What about them? They've done nothing wrong. Why should we be punished for that? And what's happened? They get a measly £3.6 million fine each, supposed to have gone to some sort of grassroots football or some sort of charity. I don't know, but we don't even never heard what happened to that money. So £22 million from those six clubs, and then as soon as that was all sorted, and that's what happened, everything reverted back to kind. Everything reverted back to normal. Said journalist who I just mentioned now, I'm not going to say his name, everybody will know who he is. Everybody's asking questions at the moment, and he's not answering. So the question that, it's not just the Premier League who said we can't punish the fans and everything else. It was also that said journalist. We can't punish the fans. And he said that in a tweet. You can see it everybody's asked the question ever since then, but he's never replied to it. So if you're listening to this podcast, highly unlikely, but if you're listening to this podcast, would you be willing to actually explain yourself? Understand what's going on? Because this is what's happened. Forget about, yes, it's a breach. We accept that. We accept that. That's what's happened. Yes, we can accept that. But it was mitigating circumstances. There was a reasoning behind why that happened in the way that it did. And okay, it happened. But don't punish the fans. And I can speak, not just me as an Everton fan, at this moment in time of what's happened to Everton Football Club and what's happened to us. There are clubs throughout the country, not just in the Premier League, but all throughout the country who have been deducted points, they've been fined, everything else has been thrown at them through the EFL, the English Football League. They've actually they have a different way of how they do their financial fair play and how they do things. Yes, but so this is the first time in the Premier League that this has actually happened, and this maximum kind of deduction has taken place for a breach of financial fair play. The last time that a club in the Premier League, got a very, very big points deduction was Portsmouth, and that was going into administration, and that was 9 points, and that's another thing. We get deducted 10 points, and then, but if you go into administration, you get 9 points deducted, so you get 1 point more deducted for a minor breach, a small breach at this rate. So that's the question. So when I talk about the Sly Six and the Premier League and the decision to just fine them for something that was even worse than a financial penalty, a financial fair play breach, that was even worse because they were going to leave the Premier League. And as much as somebody has said that, oh no, they weren't going to leave the Premier League, they were going to stay in it wouldn't work because the Premier League is signed up to UEFA. That's where the competition is, where you finish in the table, you go to the UEFA competitions. We are signed up to it. It doesn't work that way. If they wanted to go to and wanted to stay in the Premier League, it wouldn't work. So how would it work? You tell me. I'm sorry, I'm going off on here, but basically, I'm sorry. I have to say this, but what would happen? Can you tell me out there? What would have happened if them six clubs gone into European competitions, Super League, gone into that Super League, and then expect come back a weekend to go and play a league game? What's the point of the competition in the Premier League? Because the whole point of the Premier League is you win the league and you then get to go into the Champions League. And if you finish second, third, or fourth, you get into the Champions League and you get into Europa League and so on, so forth, the other competitions that are in place. What it meant, what if that was going to be the case, and that was going to be the Premier League itself or the English Premier League would actually have to resign from the European League itself, the UEFA League itself, and actually sign up to the Super League to enable it to actually continue having the pyramid system to play in that league. But that was not going to be the case. The Premier League wanted to stay in, be part of how it's supposed to be. So these six clubs, and this is where, as much as the Premier League did this, the Premier League, I'm sorry how many times I've saying the Premier League decided, because it's the six clubs and they're the most watched on the TV, and it's where the TV money, and we need these six clubs in the Premier League. We can't let them go. We can't let them go. If we let them go, then the Premier League will lose lots and lots of money, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of pounds in TV deals and sponsorships, because those six clubs are not there anymore. So you see, that's the key here. So ever since that day, and ever since that fines were put in place, which they negotiated, what happened? It's ever since then, it's like It's like being like a little drawing in the sand. Ever since that's happened, it's gone, disappeared. Don't talk about it. Let's talk about, they talk about all the players that they're signing, like Man City or United or Chelsea and the Tottenham and Arsenal and everything else. They just keep on getting more and more money coming towards them. And now I've heard this week that the TV deal, they're going to increase the prize money more for the top six clubs. So they're going to get even more money. So it feels like the Premier League are desperate to keep these six happy and content, so they don't go and break away and don't go to this Super League and don't get more money, because that's what it's all about. So the 14 other clubs in that Premier League, we're just nothing. We're just there just to make up numbers and to be part of the spectacle and part of, you know, the Premier League as it is, to create that competition supposedly. But as I've been always been saying, the competition, it doesn't exist. We just go to the football match and just play games and hope we get results and just hope we stay and be competitive enough and maybe get a run in the cup competition, maybe do this. And we don't get cared about. The fans don't get cared about at all by the Premier League, the FA, and we've seen it by the TV times and moving them around to fit their TV schedule. And it's just that's the way they are. So my anger is not just at the club for getting us in a position to be like that, be in a breach. My anger is also aimed at the Premier League, aimed at the way that they are running the league. We've had VAR and the issues with that, and something has to give, and this independent regulator needs to be in as soon as possible. We need to be getting it. We need to be challenging the Premier League. We need to be finding out what they're doing, what is their agenda, because it seems to be they care more about the six clubs at the top of the division and making sure that they're all happy and lovely in the world. And to a point, as I mentioned about Man City with their breaches at the moment, 115 breaches, and with Chelsea with the issues that they're having with, they're going to be investigated as well for breaches or of regulations, and so on. And there's other clubs within the Premier League who've made losses and have got issues as well. You know what's going to happen to them? Are they going to get? Are they going to get a deduction of that kind? Like a lot of people are saying about Man City. If they've done 150 and they've breached all of them, say, what will happen to them? Will they be in the Vanarama League? Will they get relegated because of that? Or are they just going to get a nice 10-point deduction like we are? Or not? Or just get a nice big measly fine because they can afford to actually fine Man City and take as much money out of them as possible. So I don't know. I don't know. But this is just how I feel at this moment in time. I think what I'm going to say is it's going to crank up. It's a war now. It's us versus them, and I don't care if I'm being, we're being childish or being silly or whatever by putting the Premier League corrupt banner, putting it on their social media page, tweeting everything about, with that banner for everything and anything. And we'll just keep on doing that. I don't care. There's been a GoFundMe page, and it's been made 30,000 to get the banners and get flags and everything else that are possible to protest on Sunday in the United game. Hopefully, I'll be well enough to be there to actually, get right behind that. And we will just keep on doing this and keep on doing this until something gives. The Premier League might just sit there and just do nothing, and it feels like that. And as I always say about the Premier League is very much like the Tory party. They don't listen. They just keep on doing whatever they like to do. They'll make up their own agendas and narratives. And I'll just put this out there to the likes of the media out there as well. Not all the journalists out there, local journalists are fantastic and everything else like that. I just think some of the journalists are terrible. They create headlines that are false just for clickbait and just to stir the pot and to generate this idea because the wider world who are listening, who got this story, are getting false information or fake information out there regarding the breach and regarding the report itself. And it's just an assumption from a lot of other fans, namely a few certain fans, certain supporters of certain teams, who just see the report, we've breached, we've got a 10-point deduction, that's it, yeah, you deserve it. You deserve to get relegated and become very partisan about it and not look at the bigger picture and take their red tinted glasses off and actually look at the bigger picture of this. But as I say, we breached it. There's a reason behind that, and it's acceptable of what that is. But it's just very, 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 very poor that the Premier League and the Independent Commission have gone down a road like this to punish us and to use us as a yardstick to prove a point that they are strong enough, that they can make decisions, that they can, you know, that they're the Premier League, that they are the top dogs, that they know what they're doing. They've set this up in motion, and they don't need an independent regulator to actually help them out. So, that's my view. Anyway, on that rant or ramble or whatever you want to call it, um, thank you for listening. I also just want to mention before I go, I've done a small piece or had a view, given my view on another podcast called the Obstructed View podcast. So I'll put it in the link below. Feel free to give them a listen. They're a really, really good podcast, and got some great views, especially about the 10-point deduction that they recorded yesterday. So please take a listen. I've also done a video if anybody wants to see that video from Friday, my initial reaction. That's on YouTube. I'll put a link also in my description later. On that note, thank you again for listening. I hope everybody had a good week. Keep on pushing. Keep on, driving if you can do. Keep on pushing at the Premier League. Keep on doing what we do. Let's get to the United game and show, why we are Everton Football Club, why we're the best fans in the world, and why, you do not mess with us, because we're coming for you, Premier League, and we're going to keep on coming for you until, you know, you finally sort yourself out. So on that note, take care, have a good week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.